Here is an article out of the New York Times, written by a woman by the name of Sonia Nazario, July 11th. New article. Here's just a few of the things she said. Christian Reyes, 11-year-old sixth grader in the neighborhood of Nueva Suapa, in the outskirts of the capital, tells me he has to get out of Honduras soon, no matter what. Little 11-year-old boy. In March, his father was robbed and murdered by gangs while working as a security guard protecting a pastry truck. His mother used life insurance payout to hire a smuggler to take her to Florida. She promised to send for him quickly. She hasn't. 3 people he knows were murdered this year. 4 others were gunned down on a nearby corner in the span of 2 weeks at the beginning of this year. A girl his age resisted being robbed of $5. She was clubbed over the head and dragged off by 2 men who cut a hole in her throat, stuffed her panties in it, and left her body in a ravine across the street from Christian's house. I'm going this year, he said. Mr. President, think about what this woman just wrote. Think about what this boy said. So after hearing this, can anyone blame these boys and girls and their families for doing everything they can to stay alive? And one of the easiest ways to stay alive, even though it's very hard, is to leave. One can imagine how bad things are in their squalid homes and neighborhoods if these children and their families are willing to trek across dangerous terrain with little food, little water, putting themselves at the mercy of bandits, thieves, coyotes, and cartels. These kids are so desperate that when they reach our border, they immediately surrender themselves to the first person they encounter. They're not sneaking over the border. They're getting there for safety. They're desperate. The truth is, Mr. President, we've taken steps to secure our border. So regardless of what American people may hear from the Republicans, this isn't an issue about bigger walls or more barbed wire or more drones or more helicopters or more personnel on the ground or National Guardsmen. Mr. President, we have doubled the number of Border Patrol agents. We have drones patrolling the air. I think there's 6 of them. We're catching undocumented immigrants and drug traffickers in record numbers. After visiting the Rio Grande Valley, one Fox News reporter, Fox, here's what that reporter said. There is some evidence that border security as it stands now is actually working pretty good, pretty well. Now, Mr. President, this is Fox, not a friend of President Obama. They never give him the benefit of the doubt, but they said it's working pretty well, pretty good. But if you don't want to take Fox News' word for it, this past weekend, 2 Democratic senators and a Republican senator went down to look around to see the crisis firsthand. One senator asked a senior Border Patrol official, "Is it true that border security is better than ever?" That's a quote. He responded, "It is true." How does this assessment compare to what we've heard from Republicans in Congress? This morning, the Republican leader disagreed with our border enforcement officials, claiming that the current crisis further illustrates how insecure the border is. I repeat, Mr. President, these children aren't sneaking over the border. They look to the border for safety. So who would one believe? Border Patrol officials who are there on the front lines? Fox News reporter who was there on the front lines? Or, Mr. President, the Republican leader? It's pretty clear where the weight of evidence is. Finally, our border security mechanisms are working so much better. But our Border Patrol agents and infrastructure aren't equipped to care for tens of thousands of children. Barbed wire doesn't do that. High fences don't do that. Virtual fences don't do that. Drones don't do that. Helicopters don't do that. What we need now are resources to temporarily house and feed these children, administer deportation or asylum proceedings, and give border agents the necessary tools to keep our border secured. They need to be temporarily taken care of until a decision is made what should happen to them. That has to be done in a humane fashion. Our challenge is to treat these children as children should be treated, consistent with American values. The White House's emergency supplemental request does just that. If the Department of Homeland Security and Health and Human Services don't get these resources, they're going to run out of money in a few weeks, Mr. President. Be out of money. But all we hear from Republicans in Congress is blame.